Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. It's my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And tonight we'll be reviewing one of my favourites, a comedy horror. Well, more of comedy than horror.
Well, yes.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie
film
that was done in 1992.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the TV series, which was... Actually, it's not. It's basically the same, but it's not quite the same.
Well, Mike, just so you know, the movie is like the prequel.
Yeah, I know that, but
to the series.
Yeah, but the TV series is done a little bit darker and a bit different.
I suppose so.
And the history of the movie isn't quite reflected in the TV series. And the TV series doesn't quite reflect the movie either.
True.
So so it's not.
Yeah.
They're joined, but not a flow on. How's that?
Yeah. Anyway, pretty much the story is this
Buffy.
sort of. I think in the features, the behind the scenes, they describe that in the past, before Buffy the Vampire Slayer made her appearance, in the past it's always been the male who was the guy who chases the vampires.
The Van Helsing, if you will. How's that?
Yeah, the male Ahab throughout.
The Ahab, very good. Yeah.
Instead of a woman. I mean, no offense to the women population before Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In the past, we were always the damsel in distresses, and we always seemed to rely on the men to save us.
And now it's a role reversal. The young girl, who's like the final girl type stuff, is the heroine who actually fights off all the bad guys.
Yeah, so this is a good twist, and a good twist, unlike some other movies in the past have made the mistakes in some of their twists.
So some of you younger people may never have actually seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I had good memories of this movie when I was young.
Yeah.
Me and my sister, when we had a sleepover, we would camp out near our television set with our friends, and we would watch it there. And back then, it was pretty scary.
A little bit.
Not scary, but I didn't know that my definition of scary until years later.
Actually, I'll tell you a little story. My other daughter, my eldest daughter, she had a sleepover with a friend, and she said to her friend, "Do you like horror movies?" And he said, "Yeah, I like Buffy the Vampire Slayer." Mm-hmm. So my daughter, who was into horror movies, like real horror movies, put a couple on for sleepover, and the other girl started crying because she was so scared. So, yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer has a comedy with horror themes in it, not a strict horror movie in itself. No, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta admit, when I first saw the scene with Benny that's played by David Arquette, as it turns out, the guy from Scream. I was a bit surprised when I found out who he was, and I didn't recognize him until I looked at his features more closely.
Yep.
I mean, his voice was different.
He didn't have a moustache either.
True, but his voice sounded different compared to his Dewey sheriff deputy.
Dewey, wasn't it?
Type thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
So let's go on.
Excuse me, I'm still getting over my cough, but it's almost gone now. Yeah.
Okay, who directs, writes, and
do
stars
my
in
Dewey
this?
wonderful thing. Okay, produced by Howard Roseman. Rosenman. Get my mouth around it. And Kazui, Kuzui, Kuzui. Okay, directed by Fran Rubel Kazui. Yeah, okay, right. Okay, must be family. Okay. Written by Joss Whedon.
Yeah, you may have known Joss Whedon. He did the TV series after this one.
Well, actually, I heard a reason he didn't like the movie.
Yeah, he said that it wasn't to his taste, and therefore he decided to reinvent the wheel, if you will, and make his own
the TV
series based
more in
around
line of what he wanted. Yes. Yeah.
So go on, Mike.
Anyway, blah 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 blah. The cast. I'll go before I do the cast. I'll do the budget was about $7 million, and box office at about 16. So it didn't make hand over fist profits, but Yeah, it made enough to make it interesting.
Yeah, it made enough to make a cult movie out of it. I think. Yeah, this would be classified as a cult movie.
Now here we go. Kristy Swanson plays Buffy Summers, our heroine. Luke Perry plays Oliver Pike. That's the name of fish, isn't it?
Yeah, but everyone calls him Pike. Don't know. Ask me. But
well, if I know like Oliver, Pike's good.
I guess no one even bothered to call him Oliver. But I guess Oliver is not a really
Oliver Hardy.
name.
Yeah. Oh, Laurel and Hardy. No, Pike's good. Now Rutger Hauer plays the head vampire guy, the antagonist, if you will. His name is Lothos. What a very nice name.
Okay.
Donald Sutherland also has a role in it as Merrick Jamison Smythe. He's something like a trainer for the Slayer.
Yeah, or a watcher, as they described it.
Not a watcher, but a trainer. Yeah, he's a watcher, but a trainer. He doesn't get involved, but he makes sure the Slayer has what she needs to do the job. Paul Rubens plays Emmeline. Now, everyone should know who Paul Rubens is. Do you want to tell them?
Yes. He is Pee Wee Herman. And you may have heard us review Fly the Navigator not recently, and this is probably the second movie we've done with him in it. Isn't it, right, Mike?
Yep.
So this is our second movie with him taking part in it.
Yeah.
Playing a lefty-type vampire.
Anyway, Hilary Swank plays Kimberly Hanna. It's very nice. She's pretty, but not a very nice girl.
Yeah, she's got a nasty attitude.
Now, I'm going to drop down to the bottom. I'm going to miss all the other people, but interested. Down the bottom here, we got Ben Affleck. Plays an uncredited basketball player. Hasn't he come a long way since then?
Ben Affleck. Does that sound... That does ring a bell.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of things. Yeah. And who else? That's about it. And you mentioned whatchamacallit before. David Arquette, whatever.
Yeah, he plays a co-star role.
Yeah. He gets turned into a vampire pretty quick, you know.
Yeah, he's a super comedy relief type vampire, if you can call it that.
Oh, by the way, Alexis Arquette plays...
Alexis? Are they related or something?
All I'm going to say could be, uncredited, plays the vampire DJ.
Oh, so, that guy.
Yeah, we got. He could be his brother or something. I don't know, but yeah.
Maybe it's a small industry.
Yeah.
And maybe seeing as it's a non-speaking role, he may not have had not enough experience.
Yeah. That's it. Yes, interesting who sort of sneaks into these old movies occasionally. Yeah. But anyway, I will leave it at that. So Sarah can do her usual and titillate you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll begin. So the story begins. Medieval castle. Back in 1950s or 14th century or more, probably,
or whatever,
or longer.
A couple hundred years ago, has it?
And we hear a narration. Since the dawn of man, the vampires have wandered around among us, killing, feeding, and whatnot.
Having a wonderful time.
And then there's the Slayer. That's the only person who can defeat them and fight them. And of course, she has to have this birthmark, a big hairy mole on her side of her on her shoulder to identify her. And she's trained by the Watcher, and when one Slayer dies, the next is chosen. And then we watch the current Slayer, who's a princess, I think, raising the dagger into the air, and then we flash to the present. Well, present 1990s, considering...
The present then, yeah.
Considering the present now is 2022.
Well, I think I know what year it is.
So... This is back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And,
way back then.
And the current Slayer is none other than Buffy, who's a cheerleader, popular girl, and dating one of the basketball players on the team and all that stuff.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, normal hometown girl.
Yeah. Anyway, later on, she's at the shopping mall with her friends. They're discussing school life, like she's flunking history, yada, yada, yada.
But she doesn't care about school that much. She cares about being a cheerleader, boyfriends, shopping, partying. What else?
You got
it all. Usual stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, she then meets up with Merrick, who's a creepy figure. He's more creepier than the vampires in this movie when I think about it.
A little bit. He's mysterious. I wouldn't say creepy.
He's very dark and mysterious and and you don't know what he's thinking all the time.
Well, he's mysterious. He talks slowly.
Yeah.
Slowly makes it a bit more ominous, doesn't it, folks?
Yeah. Later on, she meets up with her boyfriend at her house. Her mum and dad are going out for the weekend because her mum and dad
mum and dad are party animals and socialites and stuff. So yes, Buffy doesn't have much of a home life with mum and dad.
Mum and dad, I imagine, they have their own separate lives, and they probably don't pay attention to her too much. Although she doesn't mind it too much, but
you got her own space.
But the problem is, every time she's at night when she's asleep, she has nightmares.
Yes,
and
the way back when.
Yeah, nightmares about her past life. I think.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
Chastity Bites. Leah used to get dreams of...
Yeah, in that movie, yeah.
Alison Scagliotti, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, she dreams about an evil vampire who's named
Lothar. A bit like the Mandrake Magician's companion.
Yeah,
and
of course the dreams end very scary and stuff, and Lothar and his minion are making preparations of being in Los Angeles to arrange for the next rise of their vampire rebellion, if that's the word.
Well, I think it's the case they're being sort of not underground, but suppressed for so many decades or 100 years or something.
Yeah, I think every so often when a vampire reign is about to rise, the Vampire Slayer, whoever is chosen, she has to start getting trained and getting ready to fight these creatures before these creatures take down and destroy everyone.
Gobbling up the people in the neighbourhood. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sort of like an ongoing thing, even though each generation of vampires must be destroyed, all that stuff. Anyway, back to the story.
Carry on.
Buffy and her friends, they're starting to prepare for prom or the senior dance, whatever, it doesn't matter. And
whatever. And
they're all organized. They're happy about it. They're all discussing it. They even go to a pub not too far from where they are to discuss it. And there they meet Pike and his friend Benny. This is not the first time they meet together because they meet in a cinema when they were going to the movies too. But this is the first time they introduce one another to each other. Yeah.
And then they realise the geeks in the theatre. Oh, Lord. Anyway. These guys.
They were like, we hate you guys. And they're saying, well, like we care, well, sure, all that stuff. All that
whatever,
stuff. Yeah. And we get an interesting scene where Buffy shows her Slayer abilities by slicing Betty's hot dog down the middle.
Straight down the middle. Hey, what would she use?
She used a knife.
Just off the table. Who has ever been to a cafe where you've had a knife that would couldn't cut anything apart from butter? Honestly,
Her friends are astonished and don't say anything. Later that night, Benny and Pike are out and about drinking from his flask and just talking about how that the girls in the bar are not human and they're total jerks and all that. And then
typical guy talk, hey guys.
Pike passes out and Benny, he gets abducted by one of the evil vampire minions.
Amy or whatever name is there.
Yeah.
Pee-wee Herman, that guy.
And Merrick is nearby. He probably saw the vampire abduction, whatever, and takes Pike away to, I guess, his home.
Just keeping safe so he doesn't get gobbled up. Nice.
Anyway,
a dirty old man and no.
The next day, Buffy and her friends are doing their cheerleader practice, whatever. And
2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? Me.
Exactly.
Whatever.
And they make their way. They make their escape. And Buffy meets Merrick for the first time, where he explains that she's the chosen one, and she must take her to the graveyard. So she must see for herself what
a cute little 16 or 17-year-old girl going to a graveyard with a dirty old man at night. I cannot see this in reality.
Buffy thinks, just like Mike here, says that you must be one of these skanky men who attacks the little girls. And she tries to...
Stretch the imagination just a tad.
She tries to make her escape, but then Merrick reveals things to her that only she knows because she never told anyone, because who would believe her?
I wouldn't.
She's had these... she's had these nightmares, and Merrick reveals to her the number of past lives that she may have had. Like, maybe she was an Indian princess, a slave in Virginia, I think it was.
Yeah,
and he reveals all the details as vividly as from her dreams, and she's all surprised when Merrick reveals the name of the vampire in that dream.
You know, I can remember my past life.
Really?
I lived through the 60s. Aha. Yeah. No, sorry.
What's that got to do with it?
Well, that was a different life, you know. And it's actually someone once told me that if you can remember the 60s, you weren't there. Yeah.
Anyway, so Merrick takes her to the graveyard, and Buffy is still feeling like this is the most ridiculous thing in the world she's ever done. But he then gets her sit on one of the grave plops, or whatever they call it, and explains to her about this this dead body. I mean, this grave, about Robert Vernon, who was killed not only a few days ago, and his neck was badly bitten. Merrick gives her a cross and a stake, and tell her to sit there and wait until Robert Vernon wakes up. So they sit there, don't know how long, but soon enough.
Well, how long will it take? He'll be awake soon.
Rob wakes up and starts to rise from the grave, and he's not the only one, as it turns out.
Yeah, the grave she's sitting on starts to erupt too.
Yeah, two of them. And then, of course, Buffy was able to kill the vampires. She stabs one Rob Vernon into the back, right into his heart.
With his sausage, with a steak. Yeah.
And then she uses another steak and stabs the other one in the chest.
Very good. Not bad for having all plates. Yeah,
while this is happening, Pike gets a visit from his buddy, Benny.
Now, who's floating outside the window.
Now turned a vampire and stuff like that.
Let me in. No, did he start talking like the Cowardly Lion?
Yeah.
No,
that was much later. But he kept begging Pike to let him in.
Come on.
But he says no, and he starts screaming out he's hungry and stuff like that.
He needs and you can always count on a friend to get a feed, can't you?
Yeah. Okay. Later on, Merrick drives Buffy back home and explains to her to go to school tomorrow and act normal. Don't let anyone know that what you know, and tell her not if the vampires find out who she is, like her known name, they will be hunting her.
Aha.
So he tells her to meet at this location, I don't know where, to train to be a Slayer. But she says, I have cheerleader practice, okay? And he says you have to skip it. And she asks Merrick...
his name's Merrick.
These vampires, they cannot come in unless they're invited, right? And he says that's true. I often keep wondering why that is the case. Why so...
they're polite.
I don't know where they came up with the idea, obviously. Anyway, she heads back inside, and you think your mother would give her a sorry recommend, telling her, what? Do you know what time it is? You came home so late. Why didn't you call us? Or
yada, yada.
But no, instead, her mother says, looks at her watch and says her watch is slow, so she heads off to do something with her husband that night. And Buffy goes upstairs and gets into bed, and she has another vivid nightmare. I won't tell how vivid, but it was vivid. And
there wasn't any sex in it. Very nice.
It was very creepy.
Creepy.
Yeah. And then we flash to Lothos having a snack on one of her classmates. Well, I think her name's Cassandra, who is a bit of the brainy girl in her group, who is now going to be
an hors
d'oeuvre or snack for Lothos and his friend, what's his name?
Armadillo. Emmeline. Amilyn.
Emmeline. Anyway,
a name. Wouldn't Fred be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he does an interesting scene in the scene where he flies from the ceiling down to the ground in a creepy, only Bela Lugosi type fashion you can think of. And
he's a vampire.
True.
He learnt from the master.
Anyway, the next morning, Buffy is about to do her cheerleading practice with her mates, but Merc appears and tells her, "You supposed to meet me at this location a half an hour ago." But she says, "I've told you I have practice," and he told her to skip it, all that stuff. But she says that she does not think she deserves to be the Vampire Slayer because she doesn't. She has too much of a busy life and all that stuff.
Yes, exactly right.
And he says that while Buffy hasn't received years of training for this, she's undisciplined, frivolous, and particularly not the best approachable person to become the next Slayer.
Nah,
but
you gotta work with what you got.
Eventually, when he's about to leave, he then throws a
dagger at her,
and she catches it with.
Yeah, he claps the two hands together and catches it by the blade. Nobody but a Slayer could do that, he says.
Yeah, and she tells him that she doesn't want to be the Slayer, and she does not think that she deserves to be going around killing vampires all her life.
And what do vampires do?
And all she wants to do is graduate from high school, go to Europe, marry Christian Slater, and die. In that order.
Marry Christian Slater. Well,
It's the 90s. What do you expect?
Well, okay.
A girl can dream, can't she?
Someone.
Anyway, she ends up hitting Merc in the face, and she says that she's surprised because she never hit anyone before. And when she looks at her hand, she says, I didn't even break a nail.
Very good.
Then we clash to a training montage of Buffy learning to fight from and learning how to slay vampires. And meanwhile, all this is happening, she continues to be late for school and not be...
Actually, she started... This was a new school, wasn't it?
No.
But she's getting in trouble, wasn't it, for the principal, wasn't it?
And most of her friends are wondering why she's been so absent.
Gone weird. Yeah.
And she becomes not so sociable around them so much. And
she realised they're the geeks and everything. And
and eventually she's called to the principal's office, and he thinks it's drugs, but somehow I don't think so, because on the count, her brain is still sharp, but considering that she uses a pinboard pin to actually pierce the body of a fly in the air.
Up on the wall somewhere.
Yeah, what kind of person who takes drugs would be able to do that, I ask you?
Well, it's a neat trick.
Anyway, Pike plans on leaving town, as it turns out. He feels like mostly it's because of Benny. I think he's scared, I guess, and thinks that he should bail.
My friend was going to eat me. Yeah. I can see this. Yes.
Yeah, and he tells the guy at the gas station he's working for to if he sees Benny, run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, meanwhile, Buffy is on patrol, which is what we call it in the movies and TV series.
Yes, on patrol. That sounds good. It's a bit like Citizens on Patrol in Police Academy, eh?
Yeah, but that's what they call it in Buffy, anyway, in the TV series.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Buffy's wandering the alleyway, and she gets cornered by a vampire, and she was able to maneuver it to the back, and was able to be able to stab it in the chest. And Merc is kind of counting down with his pocket watch, saying, "Not bad," like he was planning it all along.
Yeah, he set her up. Yeah. What's a trainer for, man?
Merc, instead of giving her the thumbs up or something, he just tells her that she just went to a blind alley, and that means she could have gotten killed by...
gave herself no escape.
Yeah, which would have been risky.
Would be.
And he goes on to explain that you must have felt something because she was feeling cramps.
Oh, yeah.
And these cramps, they're sort of like a warning system against vampires.
Like PMS or whatever? Or is that the right word for it?
Yeah, the best word for it. Yeah. And that's the only way of describing how you can be able to sense if there's vampires in the area, because their unnaturalness to blood, I guess.
Exactly.
Anyway, eventually Buffy tells Merrick that she's not going to croak like other Slayers because she's got one thing they don't have in common: her keen fashion sense, according to her.
Exactly.
Anyway, she and Merc make a joke, and he says, "All vampires of the world, beware," and she laughs and thinks it's funny. I think in this scene that even though she thought her friends were close to her, but I think she and Merc have a good connection.
They're getting a bond. Yes.
Even though he's not friend material, but he's
a boss.
He's a boss, and
sort of trainer,
and
whatever.
he understands what she needs to do and knows where her line of duty lies. And it's not necessary with cheerleading, or dance committee, or whatever.
Merry Christmas later.
Or Merry Christmas. Anyway, back to our story. Pike is in the middle of nowhere, and somehow his car is not working, even after he's got it repaired.
He's supposed to be a bloody mechanic, isn't he? He can't. Your car doesn't run.
Maybe he has no tools in the back.
Well, he's a tool.
Anyway, I'm bad with names. I should just call him Lefty. Gosh sakes.
Amelin.
He does get called Lefty later
eventually,
on.
after he loses his arm.
Anyway,
Amelin
appears along with his vampire minions, and they attempt to try to kill Pike. And eventually, Amelin jumps onto Pike's van, and he's like trying to. They're driving along and skidding across the grounds, and he was able to climb on top of the roof, and he slams his fist right into the roof, through the roof.
And just trying to get Pike. And
unfortunately, a branch appears and kind of
knocks
Amelin off the roof.
But leaves his arm inside the car.
Kind of disgusting. And eventually the car skids into a tree and crashing at the van.
It was, well.
And then appears and he says, "You just ruined my new jacket."
Yeah.
And he says to his minions, "Kill him a lot."
Yeah.
Yeah, they fight a bit, and Pike uses his guitar to kind of fight the vampire minions as best he could. Soon enough, Buffy appears and was able to stab both evil vampires in the chest. And Merc is impressed and says, "Well done," and all stuff. Well, not well done. He just says, "Good choice," but about the destroying of Pike's guitar. But what can you do?
Well, it was wood.
Yeah, that's the only choice.
Actually, I've been told I learned somewhere in a movie once that they said you have to have a wooden stake. You can't use a metal stake.
Why is that?
Well, wood is natural thing, grows on a tree.
I get it.
Where metal's actually fabricated.
I see.
Yeah.
I guess makes sense.
Yeah, interesting.
But you got a minute. What about iron? Like an iron nail, like in Jesus' cross.
Well, that's different.
Acting a bit religious there.
Yeah, I heard that. It was iron was. Yeah, I know, but that's not a stake. You can cut the head off with it.
Anyway, moving on. Soon enough, Pike passes out, and Buffy was able to take him back to her place. And imagine her mum and dad are out again. I think we often see her parents absent in this movie a lot, which is weird.
I think that's why they got a bit part. They're never there.
Which is weird because she was. Didn't she have her mother's name at the top, tippy top in the credits?
I can't. No.
I seem to recall.
Well, not listen.
Well, not in the credits.
Not on the internet, but no, it may be on the movie.
On the DVD,
Yeah.
on the movie, it's credits. I mean, anyway, back to the story.
Yeah.
So, Buffy tells Pike, confides in him about how 3 weeks ago, all she thought about was nothing, mostly dresses,
sex, drugs,
fashion,
rock and roll. Why not?
Fashion, friends, and boyfriend.
Yeah.
And she feels like that do you know what it's like that when things are suddenly different, that everything you thought was crucial is somehow stupid or weird. And she says that you're babbling incoherently to a strange man. And Pike is a little astonished because he was never probably even called a man in his life, was he?
Who?
Pike. He didn't think that...
Nah, he's still a boy, a boyish man, a mannish boy, whatever. Yeah.
They give each other a look, which says a lot. And Buffy turns away, telling him that she's going to bed and allow him to stay the night. And so she heads off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she heads off into her room. Oh, before she heads off to her room, Pike says he knows what it's like. I think that he himself after experiencing the vampire stuff, I think he's starting to realize that there's more to life than drinking and drugging. So he's probably had a bit of a flash of reality during that scene.
Reality check time, yeah.
Meaning both of them have experienced it now. Anyway, back to Lothos, who's giving his minion, who's now lefty, I should say, sorry recommend, saying you left the others behind because a little thing like this on their first kill. And he says, he took my bloody arm, in a funny way.
Yeah, he wasn't very happy about it,
Yeah, but Lothos was annoyed that he just let such a small thing like this just ruin their training of their new minions.
Oh, there you go.
And he then walks away with a kitten and plans on having a snack with it.
Well, there's not much blood in the cat, but it's enough to tide you over, I suppose.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, the next morning, her friends are talking about Cassandra, they found some policeman discovered her dead remains.
Dead remains. Yeah. I never had any live remains.
And Kim is all worried about the fact that she was wearing her yellow jacket. I didn't mention this earlier, but there was a
beautiful yellow jacket.
A beautiful yellow jacket that Buffy and her were eyeing at the same time in one of the scenes. And
Buffy was going to buy it, but her friend says...
Kim said it was...
retro.
5 minutes ago. Yeah. Whatever that means.
Would be caught dead wearing it, so Buffy didn't buy it.
And Kim bought it.
The next day, he said it was wearing it.
And then...
girls are bitchy.
Yeah, so Kim is more worried about her jacket now confined in Cassandra's coffin, for all we know. And...
Something like that.
Meanwhile... Jeffrey and Buffy's boyfriend and his friend are passing by Buffy, and his friend touches her, and she flips him, and he says, sorry for acting so nasty and all that stuff. And her friends are surprised by Buffy's attitude, like she's acting really uptight, instead of the usual Buffy that they're familiar with. And this is unusual, and Buffy realizes that if she misses another practice, the lot of the school is going to be talking about her in the worst way.
Exactly.
And Marcus says, another distraction, this is not right. And Buffy says, why it's my fate. It's not in the book of all knowledge that I have to cheer in the game tomorrow. Lighten up, Merrick. And Marcus is like, none of the other girls have given me this much trouble. And Buffy says, and where are they now? Hello. Hint, hint.
Yeah. Dead.
See, I should mention, Merrick, he's actually reincarnated several times.
Yeah, he's been around for a few hundred years.
It's different in the TV series where there's this big organization with watchers looking after girls. In this one, it's one watcher dealing with one girl to protect the whole world, mostly. So, anyway... soon enough, the basketball game happens, and one of the classmates, who's a basketball player, is now a vampire, and you could see he's got the teeth, he's got the ears.
The ears.
I should mention that the vampires in this one, they have their ears slightly bent.
Ears. You're like Mr. Spock, you know?
Or Nosferatu, if you watch the original.
Yeah, more like Mr. Spock.
Well, maybe not like that.
Oh,
not the bald-headed ones, anyway. Anyway... So Buffy's cheering, stupid cheer, the worst one I ever heard.
They were crappy cheers. Yeah, we won't go into it.
No way. Anyway, the basketball commences and the vampire player begins to play, and he starts doing some creepy stuff and spooking both the visiting team and his ordinary team, scaring them, in fact.
He was a vampire.
Yeah.
He's a control freak. He wanted to do he wanted to play the game by himself. You know?
Yeah. He didn't. Yeah. Jeffrey's all like, I'm open, all that stuff. But he didn't. The vampire just went his own normal way, using his own vampire techniques, attracting the attention.
He did well.
Yeah, and eventually one of the visiting team was able to get the ball away from him and won the rounds. And Buffy was able to kick him over, and then he shoots off into the opposite direction towards the exit while Buffy chases after him because he knows that Buffy's identity, meaning she was a friend of hers before he was turned a vampire. So Buffy, Merrick, they chase after him, and the rest of the whole high school are like, what the just has happened, right, Mike?
Something like that.
Yeah, not something you would see every day.
Cheerleader going on the court there and doing this and that, whatever, and
and
they were totally bewildered.
Anyway, Buffy chases after him, and she actually steals a motorcycler's bike.
A biker, yeah.
And
he gave it a cheek, so she took his bike anyway. And
but to them,
don't pick on the girl. Yeah,
but that was a shock for him in the system. So she chases after Fuller. That's his name. Fuller. That's his name.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Who's the basketball player? Vampire.
That guy.
And they head into a what they call it, a float parade place where they rent parade floats. I think it is. And Pike, he follows Buffy. He borrows a bike, I think. I'm not sure. And he drives and goes off inside the into the float, rent float area too. And Buffy, as she's heading inside, some of the floats become to life, start moving, and Fuller was able to trip Buffy up with one of them, and he's about to bite into her, but fortunately Pike was able to stab him and say, now you're a coat rack. Well, actually, Fuller says, now I'm a god, but then Pike appears and gives him a stake up the back and says, now you're a coat rack. It's much more funny that way.
Surprise!
And the vampires, well, there's two vampires who were there, and Buffy and Pike were able to take them out. And with any luck, Buffy and Pike would have been taken out. More like on a date sort of thing.
Somewhat.
Anyway, as they're heading through the floats, they come across Lothos and Lefty marring Buffy's handiwork, and Lothos is beckoning Buffy towards him in a creepy Dracula Mina type of thingy wing. And Buffy is totally spellbound in this very moment, or completely can't even do anything. She's totally mesmerized, if that's the word.
Somewhat.
Is that the word mesmerized?
Yeah, hypnotized, mesmerized, yeah, that's what's up there.
And Merrick appears, and he tries to diffuse the situation by jumping in front of Buffy and tries to take out Lothos on his own. But
he's supposed to be watching. He doesn't play by the rules, does he?
And Lothos took the stake that was in Merrick's hand and stabbed Merrick in the chest.
Poor Merrick.
Merrick, sorry. And Lothos and his minion, they leave the establishment thinking Buffy's just not ready in that sense.
Boy, are they wrong.
Yeah. Buffy cradles Merrick to her chest, and she feels sad that she could have tried better, tried to save him and just try to save him. But unfortunately, he tells her that even though she's doing everything wrong, that she should do it. She should continue doing it the way she ought to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says cryptically, remember about the music. Listen, when the music stops, something about rest is done or something like that.
Somewhat, yeah.
It's very cryptic. And
exactly.
But anyway, Buffy heads back to their secret location, wherever that is. I don't know where it is. And she's looking over some Merrick's possessions, and she's kind of sad and grieving. The next day, she tries to tell her friends about what's happened. She tries, but they don't understand, or they're thinking they just don't think, period, if that's the word.
The girls. No, sorry, ladies.
They just think when Buffy tries to explain that a couple of days ago she met Merrick, but unfortunately her sisters her friends are so caught up with the fact that she must be having an affair with someone, all that stuff. And
you're having an affair with a dirty old man?
No, well, she doesn't say names. She just says that he's old and 50, and they're like, ew, type attitude, like high school students. Yeah. And she tries to explain that, have you not noticed that the weirdness has been going on? The strange things, like people disappearing, turning up dead, and they're like saying, what are you talking about? You mean like hanging out with that hopeless But
Pike?
She says Pike, and one of her friends is like, oh, don't tell me you're having an affair with him. Oh, brother. And she's like, I think reality just left like 5 minutes ago or 5 seconds ago. And they're like saying, you just blew off cheerleading and now you're blowing off dance committee, all that stuff. And she says, excuse me.
She hasn't got her priorities right, has she?
Yeah. And she says, excuse me for doing something more important to do. And they're saying, and this is not important? This happens to be the dance. And she's like saying,
very important.
Yeah, sure, the dance. It's a stupid dance with a bunch of stupid people I see every stupid day. And they're like saying, now we're like stupid. And she says, and Kim says, you know, Buffy, this is not just a dance. It happens to be the last dance of the last year.
And then they start
bringing up several other dances.
It's also going to come up later and stuff. Yeah.
What? So how many dances is that? Yeah. Like 4 other dances? Jeez.
So it's not that important after all, is it really, folks?
Yeah. And Kim tells her that, look, Buffy, if you're going to play house with a washed up maggot like Pike, then...
The maggot, he's a nice guy.
But... they think that she needs to, like you said, think about her priorities.
Yes, exactly right.
And Buffy says, "What language are you speaking?" And they're saying, "Get out of my face," or "Getting out of my facial." All the girls leave, and Buffy's left there to ponder her own thoughts.
Contemplate the meaning of life.
Not exactly.
Well, whatever.
Buffy later on is out shopping, and Pike appears and talks to her and they try to speak to each other, but Buffy's like that she plans on going to the dance, forget about the whole Vampire Slayer thingy wing. But Pike is telling her that she has a destiny to fulfill, and she cannot just put that sort of stuff away just because she just lost someone.
Interesting.
But Buffy feels like that thanks to her, Merrick is dead, and she feels like that it's all because of her, and she could not lift a finger against Lofos.
Exactly.
And she feels like she's way over her head, and she should get back to her old life. And of course,
will you hurry up?
So she tells Pike to leave her alone, and as he's leaving, we then see that Benny, who's in a 1 minute photo booth, whatever they call it.
Yeah, trying to get photographs, and they're all blank.
And he overheard their conversation and knows Buffy's identity. So later on, we hear Lofos and Lefty talking about her, and he's like saying that now they know her identity, they should go out and kill her. But Lofos says, I would like to wait until the actual dance, because I want to dance.
Exactly.
In those terms. And they laugh and
titter.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Buffy and Pike are getting ready and all that stuff. And soon enough, the dance arrives. And Buffy comes in a dress that is
very nice.
So outrageous.
It was a very attractive dress and
it's
a very attractive girl. Yes.
Yeah. I remember one comment in a book where they compared the dress to a
wedding dress?
Parachute.
A parachute? No, it was a bit voluminous, yes.
It was. Where everyone else around her was dressed in
normal clothes?
In normal fancy wear. Or not fancy wear, just
nice evening wear. And she had this really thing which is really...
Yeah. Anyway...
But she came alone because nobody wanted to go with her.
Well, she actually approaches her friends and says that they've seen Jeffrey, her boyfriend, and as it turns out, Jeffrey's actually dating one of her friends, Jenny, who's more of a minion than a friend.
Is he the dumb one, wasn't he?
Yeah, dumb, curly hair, not much on top. But then again, all of her friends have not much on top.
Most of her friends are airheads.
Yeah. Anyway, Jeffrey tells her that he's moved on, and therefore he doesn't want her to any more doesn't want to talk to her.
Oh, rude.
So she stands alone by herself, and then Pike appears in his most gorgeous outfit.
Well, he had his leather jacket on and stuff. He really looked really good.
Yeah, he looked really great.
That's the way I'd go.
I gotta admit,
back in those
that
days.
look. I liked Luke Perry in 2 different versions. I loved him in this, and I loved him in 90210. These are the 2 things I like in that he does.
He had this personality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, he approaches...
A bit like James Dean.
Yeah, that's the one thing I like about him. He's a 90s James Dean back in that day.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Anyway, he then approaches Buffy, and they do a slow dance, and they then kiss, which is even nice.
Lovely.
And then we get a POV shot of outside, and we see that the vampires are coming this way. And they break through the windows, bam, 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 and we see them hissing and growling.
And they start dragging people out the windows, and then Buffy goes out there to confront them and stuff. And
yeah. And of course... most of the vampires in this, they're actual students, meaning they're allowed to come in, technically.
Well, they had invites.
Yeah.
They had a piece of paper saying they're allowed in.
Yeah, true.
Aha.
They're all seniors,
The seniors, yeah.
Anyway,
seniors only.
So Buffy tells Pike to stay there, look after the rest of the class, the rest of the party goers, while she confronts the vampires outside. So she grabs her bag of goodies, some steaks that Pike set aside for her.
He made some up for her. That lovely.
And
true love.
And he gives her his leather jacket because after she kind of tears her...
Tore her dress a bit.
First, and he hands her his jacket. So she heads outside while he looks after the party goers inside. And, so they start nailing up the windows, but that doesn't stop the vampires from coming inside, as it turns out. And they have to start... Pike has to start trying to attack them on his own, because the rest of the party goers are screaming, they're ranting, they're freaking out.
Running around in every degree of circles.
And the principal is just says, I got tension slips here, and I'm not afraid to use them. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
what are they going to do, except for stick it on your head?
Yeah, especially the dead bodies and stuff. You're definitely detention now.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the story. Some of the rest of the classmates do eventually work out that they must stake them in the heart and all that stuff. Anyway, while this is happening, Buffy is meeting Lefty, and she has a brief fight with him. How brief? Well, just a few seconds. And
a very long death scene, though.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Ooh, ooh,
He got a stake in the chest, but he wouldn't quite die.
I think it was probably not all the way in.
No, it was a fun bit. Yeah.
And Lophos is there playing on his violin, making it memorable and funny.
Like Nero, his Rome burnt. Yeah.
And as he approaches Buffy, and Buffy is, just as weak as she was before when she was at the float rental place, and he's about to plunge his fangs into her neck or whatever. The power...
Into her whatever.
Yeah. Thanks to Pike and Benny, the vampire, he was able to short-circuit the electricity and causing the music from the DJ to cease. And Buffy remembers...
So when the music stops, I mean?
Yeah. Somehow Buffy remembered Merck's what he said. He says about when the music stops, the rest is done. And I guess it kind of broke the spell over Buffy. And Buffy was able to fight Lophos with her mentally, and was able to take out the cross that belonged to Merck, and she takes out a hairspray or perfume bottle.
And hairspray.
Yeah. See, Lophos grips her hand, and the cross starts burning, and Buffy was able to take out the spray bottle and spray it into the cross, and burning Lophos' face. Although this doesn't stop him. In fact, he comes into to the
auditorium,
and they do another confronting against one another. Him with a very big sword, and he was planning on killing all the students with his very powerful sword.
Well, yeah.
Does that sound
depends
fun?
if you like the other students or not. You know?
Yeah.
You look, kill those ones over there, but don't kill those ones there, my friends. It'll be nice.
Yeah. Anyway, Buffy fights him and tries to stake him using a flag, but unfortunately he's about to plunge the sword into her chest, but luckily enough, Pike appears and tackles him, and he was able to throw him away, but while this is happening, Buffy was able to use parts of a chair,
broken chair,
and stakes Lucifer into the chest, and he falls to the ground dead. And the rest of the partygoers, they watch and feel a little freaked out, more about seeing Buffy staking this man. And we then hear in the background the police or hospital, well, just police coming to the school to, interrogate what occurred.
Yeah, all
And
tough.
Buffy and Pike, they have a final dance before they get onto their motorcycle. And as the credits roll, we get a post-credit scene where the students are being interviewed by the news media, and they give off several different statements about
what happened,
whether it was male Republicans or drug addicts or just gang-related. They don't know because
no idea.
The media can't work heads or tails because everyone says something different. And don't ask Kim because her brain snapped.
She thinks she's queen of the prom and different things.
She's thinking.
And the other little girl there, I think Buffy's ex-boyfriend got into her pants, and she was
totally upset.
She was incoherent.
Yeah, exactly. And I think she's been crushing on Jeff from day one. I think I've watched the Google eyes sprout. Anyway, so the newscaster ends, and then we cut to Lefty continuing grunting and groaning.
He's not quite dead yet, still. Which is an ongoing, obviously, joke thing. Yeah.
Then it ends.
Fade to black.
Fade to black. Or cut to black.
Okay. I'm not going to talk too much about this because Sarah's been talking for ages.
It's a very long description of this movie, and it's really interesting. Anyway, go on, Mike.
Right. I won't say too much. Mm-hmm. I did hear some time ago, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, that when they actually were putting this movie together and Donald Sutherland wanted to see a copy of the script, there wasn't a full copy of the script written.
You're kidding me.
No. So I think they're still in drafting stages or something or other. And even by the time the movie started, they were still doing rewrites, possibly.
There is a possibility.
And he was a professional who said, I want to know the script so I can read through the script so I know where it's going and stuff. And I haven't been able to have that confirmed anywhere. But so I got the impression that some of this might have been ad-libbed as I went along as well, because the script might have been incomplete, or because this Whedon guy walked off the set.
Well,
the writer.
Yeah, well, you said.
So yeah.
You said yourself, Mike, that their version was a slightly more comedy related.
They took his story and they made it a comedy.
Yeah.
A bit more comical. And he wanted to make it a bit like the TV series, which he actually wrote the script for the TV series, I believe, which then a couple of years later, which is more in line with the way he envisaged the movie. Yeah, interesting.
I even read somewhere in the book, which there was a book, on this, and it indicated that the school itself got burnt down, like in a, and Buffy, unlike in the TV series, in the TV series that she was expelled from her last school. Well, in the book, it said that she was expelled because of the fire, even though she did save.
She didn't do it.
Yeah, I guess that. Well, anyway, you got to read the book, obviously, because the book is a lot more interesting, and sometimes even details that Merc were dressed in robes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in this one, they make out that Merc is just dressed in a brown hat and a brown jacket all the time.
Whatever. Yeah.
Creeping to the modern creepiness about it.
Yeah. I was going to say this movie didn't get great reviews. Like, they're pretty lukewarm.
I guess.
Not bad ones, but just lukewarm. Like, well, yeah, okay. But whereas the TV series, got great reviews.
No doubt.
So maybe the writer, Joss Whedon, was on the right mark when he said, "Hey, they stuffed up the movie," and he walked off.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at a lot of TV series that made a good grip in the 90s. I mean, Buffy, the Charmed ones.
Angel.
Xena
the Princess Warrior. Hercules.
Well, I'm not comparing those ones.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the ones that appeal to a younger generation, even though that does appeal to a young generation.
Yes.
But Buffy and Angel and Charmed ones, they've often appealed to a younger generation that interests them. I heard even on the grapevine they might be making a Buffy reboot. I'm not sure, movie or TV series. Maybe the TV series part. And I read somewhere that online that Michelle, the girl who played Buffy in the TV series, Michelle Gell, she actually gave up acting because of Robin Williams that passed away not many years ago. That's why I haven't seen her in anything new lately.
What do you mean Robin Williams passed away many years ago?
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago. It was only a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. He passed away and she stopped acting, period.
Okay.
Well, that explains why I haven't seen her in anything new. I haven't seen anything with Freddie Prinze Jr., her boyfriend, her husband. And they're still married. Did you know that, Mike?
After all these years? Well, there you
go
then.
Let me see. They got married in the back in the 90s, I think. And let me see. It's been it's quite a few years, actually. They're still together. And I'm surprised. I mean, not too many relationships I know of last that long, except for the odd... sometimes I often think... That's the 5-year limit is the on marriage pretty much the amount of time people get married and get divorced.
Okay. You mentioned about a remake. They've been talking about remakes of the TV series, I believe. Not so much the movie, I don't think.
No, I don't think they would. They probably might mention up like they did with the other one, obviously.
But or maybe they may be thinking of both. I don't know. I know they're thinking of doing both. That's been going on for the past 10 years or so. They're kicking ideas around. So maybe it's going a bit cold and they don't want to muck around. Maybe they've got to do bigger and better things, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I wasn't too crazy about when they did a Charm One remake or reboot when they did that series. I mean, I wasn't... I'm always looking for something new, not old, just something that's...
Let's go back and redo what we did before.
Because it was so popular then.
Sometimes it's sort of like, hey, let's do the Brady Bunch again. It ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good way back then. It suited the times. Or go back further. Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best. Those sort of shows would not hold any water if they release something like that today. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, Mike, you said before this movie. You said it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
But when the TV series came out,
it was excellent.
Yeah. So why can't the studios take something that's so bad and try to make it better?
And if they're going to redo the movie, they weren't going to invite the original writer back into it.
That's
so
true.
The people who love the TV series were annoyed that the guys who are going to do the film reboot weren't going to have him on the writing team. And so it gets a bit messy, doesn't it? Considering it's his story.
Yeah, and I like the fact in the TV series, it didn't just have vampires running around loose. There were monsters, there were witches, there were warlocks, werewolves, obviously.
And when the spin-off of Angel came on, didn't they go in a different dimension as well?
Yeah, there was a bit of things like that. And it took place in Los Angeles, obviously, in a different spot.
So lots of different things. And you take these sorts of things in a myriad of different directions, and it can be really fun. Yeah.
I do miss I do like I really did like the TV series, but I also like the movie.
Oh, the movie's great.
I think some people who just thought it was bad was because they thought they were expecting something completely creepy, even though
it could have been a tad darker, like a TV series.
Yeah, but from a 6 or 7 or 9 grade, I mean, the 9-year-old's level, it does seem really creepy from a little child's level.
But if it was aimed at a teenager mentality, say mid-teens to late teens, you're looking at, well, it was a bit too soft.
Yeah, and it was more of a comedy, as we said before.
Yeah, but they could have been a little bit darker, like a TV series. Because a TV series is quite good, and it's got more meat on it.
Yeah, but who knows who the director, who knows what the director and producers were saying to with the writer. They probably thought, we think your stuff is too dark for this generation, and we think we should go for a different direction. And that's when he stormed out, because he just got fed up with their suggestions.
Whatever, yeah. Anyway, we're going to kill it. It's getting about that. We're going to over time now. So.
Okay, what?
Wait a minute.
Should we
availability?
Oh, I want to hear. What were the?
There wasn't much on it. It was just lukewarm. Yeah.
Okay, so
that's it. What I'm going to say is that availability.
Okay.
eBay. Excuse me. Just clear my throat a bit. eBay. Yes, you can buy it there. There's new and used. Plenty. On Amazon, you can rent it, buy it. Now, on both sites, be careful. There will be some VHS in there, because being it's an old one. It's also in some of the sites you got the TV series in there as well. So watch out that you actually buy the movie, not the TV series, unless you want the TV series.
And if you want to watch a video game, you have to be careful,
Exactly.
or even the books. Considering that
but the books,
apart from
but the DVD, some DVDs and VHS and stuff. Yeah,
I know. I just meant like aside from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they also have comics and video games.
And then the posters are there. Everything's in there. It's really good.
There's a very big genre for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember years ago they used to sell the magazines on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
They did comics and stuff like that in there, and of course they discontinue it because since the series ends, then that's it. No point in bringing back a magazine that's not gonna shed any new light or new material.
Anyway, well, I will say one thing before we go. I'm going to grade it in a minute. If you have not seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, considering it was done about 30 years ago, you young people it may have passed under the radar. It's a good watch, but I think if you like the movie, have a look at the TV series, because the TV series is a lot better.
I agree.
So I'm going to give this a 9. I'm just making it down a bit because I think, they could have made it that little bit darker to make it a little bit more.
Yeah, but to a child like a 12 or 10-year-old, to me it was dark. But
it wasn't aimed for the 12-year-old.
I know.
That's the whole point. So
But even my sister and I liked it and thought it was enjoyable, and we were scared to an extent.
I was showing your sister Dracula and Frankenstein at the same time. This was lukewarm.
But I do think it's great and enjoyable,
Yeah.
and for its time, it was. It was a different approach to
it was fun.
Instead of having the girl being a heroine all the time, she was a strong feminist,
like an Amazon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of the usual cowardly girly.
Save me. Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, you want to kill it?
Yeah. I'm going to rate it, say, 10 out of 10.
Wow.
That's because I enjoyed it, and it's appealed to my age when I was little, and I really liked Luke Perry a lot. He
is cute.
He was my me and my sister, we had crushes on him a lot. We loved that dark bad boy type guy.
Well, I can say I could give it a 10 just for the sake of Christy Swanson and Hilary Swank was in it. Yeah, but I'm not. I'm looking at the movie.
Yeah, but aside from I did like the movie. I like the comedy and I like the humor.
Yeah.
It adds intrigue and incitement, and I did enjoy the funny bit of dialogue they ad-libbed in here and there.
I know it was ad-lib, but I got the impression some of it was a bit maybe done on the trot. Maybe ad lib, maybe. What scenes are doing today? Let's write some hasty lines down. I don't know, because like I said, the writer walked off. So who knows? Anyway, let's kill it.
Okay, that's about it for us tonight, guys. Be sure to check it out. Let us know in the comments what you think it is. Whether you like, do you like the movie or do you like the TV series? Or do you think that they should do something better? I'm asking you guys.
I don't think they should do reboots for either. Leave well enough alone.
Yes.
Now, what I was going to say is, get back to us or any other of the previous podcasts done. Yeah, if you're going back looking at some of these you haven't seen before or listened to before, go back and listen to them, and your comments, good or bad, preferably good, will be greatly appreciated.
All right, that's about it for us, guys. So this is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
Saying we'll see you guys next time on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. Bye for now.
See you guys. Bye.